Caucus happened last Tuesday. Were you there? Some called it chaos. Some called it just a wonderful thing. I'm going to talk about my perception going to two different district meetings where caucuses gathered in two different schools. I'd like to have you on the show next week to talk about what your experience was. After the show, if you'd call me anytime this weekend or first part of next week, we'll schedule you on to share your experience at the caucus. Just call us at 303-861-1447. It's 303-861-1447. Well, this is the Startup Show. Small Business Chamber of Commerce, Inc. would like to help you do more good work. It tries to cooperate with local chambers. It's a virtual organization. Someone called this morning and said, how do I come by? We have an address that we list publicly so that you can send us cease and desist orders, whatever it is that you'd like to mail to us. We have our legal address. You just Google Small Business Chamber of Commerce, Inc. Comes right up. It's on Google Maps. And we may end up having a meeting outside, but that's not what's going on right now. So the gentleman called, we talked on the phone. He's going to get my little book on startup, Daring Mighty Things, the simplest way to start your first or next new business. And I think it's helpful not only for starting a business, but for starting a career. And especially if you're starting a career in politics. I really urge you to get the book. It's 99 cents on Amazon in the Kindle edition. If you buy it and don't like it, I'll give you $1 back. So I told the gentleman that this morning, and he may come to Socrates Cafe tonight. Each Friday here in Denver, we have Socrates Cafe at Panera Bread, now on the 16th Street Mall at Market Street, right across the street from the old Market Street station. And it's not a business meeting per se, but I think it helps sharpen your critical thinking skills, your ability to listen well, to communicate well. I think for somebody, you've maybe lost a job, you've had some sort of a setback, it may be more helpful to you than anything else you could do. At least that's how I look at it. I'm biased because I was part of a group that started the first Socrates Cafe here in Denver right after Chris Phillips wrote his book. Our first meeting was on the Friday after 9/11, just by coincidence. And we've been meeting ever since. So if that sounds interesting, we pick a topic at the meeting itself. There's no homework to do. You're as prepared as any of us if you just show up tonight. 6 o'clock, Panera Bread, 16th and Market Street. If you've got any questions right after this is over, give me a call, 303-861-1447. Or you can Google it, Colorado Socrates Cafe Society, where you can also see other meetings of Socrates Cafe. That's meetup.com group, Colorado Socrates Cafe Society. So, the caucus. I saw a video of an interview done over the weekend, just prior to the caucus, that I think is the key to understanding why the bad things that happened Tuesday happened. And a lot of good things happened because you had experienced precinct committee people. They knew what they were doing. They were well trained. I think the training varied from county to county, from district to district. So there were some caucuses that came off very well, but a lot of them didn't. And it wasn't the fault of the Colorado Caucus system. It was I understood what had happened when I see on TV, on PBS, here they get airtime, the two state chairs for the Republicans and the Democrats, they're both together. I've been trying to get them together, trying to make an announcement prior to the caucus, trying to make announcements about caucus trainings that they could do jointly if they wanted to. But nope, don't get together until they get on the air right before Tuesday's caucus. Well, that's okay. That'll be good. And what do they talk about? We need to get rid of the Colorado Caucus. Really? this system that you are in charge of, that you are the fiduciary responsibility to try to make it just as good as you possibly can. You're talking about killing it the weekend before the caucus. Now, if you did your very best, you tried to inspire those under you to do their very best, tried to make it a good experience, and it just didn't work, that would be one thing. You know, then I might be calling for an end to it myself. Because I've seen it in its good days. Maybe I'm living in a dream world, but I don't think so, because there were good experiences. I mean, if you just watch online, hashtag CO Caucus brings up a lot of interesting comments. Hashtag CO for Colorado, CO Caucus, COCAUCUS, hashtag Colorado Caucus. You'll see people there that were delighted. But mostly you see people that are angry. And you know what? I'd probably be buying into this presidential primary baloney if I had gone and had a bad experience too. You go to a restaurant and you get a bad meal, you complain. And the two state chairs were the owners of the restaurant that served very bad meals on Tuesday. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to eat in restaurants anymore. It means that maybe we need to sell to someone else that can pay attention to what they're doing. And I think the two of them should resign. I think they should hang their heads in shame and resign. Instead, they're blaming it on the system. We've got a wonderful system that requires good leadership. And they demonstrated Tuesday they are not good leaders. And if they don't resign, I suggest that it become the first order of business at every county convention. How do we get rid of our state chair people as quickly as possible and get someone else in there instead? And I suggest that we go back to past leadership. How about Sharon Klein? How about Phil Parrington? How about David Fogel on the Democrat side? On the Republican side, how about Bill Armstrong? How about John Andrews? Let's get a strong leader in charge of both parties. And in 2 years, let's have another caucus. And then let's make up our mind about the Colorado Caucus. It is too early to decide if it's the caucus or not. Now, some that are pushing this crazy idea, it's a crazy idea. We've tried it, it didn't work, we got rid of it. But they're promoting this crazy idea, presidential primary. They're saying, well, no, we'll still have the caucus. No, yeah, temporarily, because we know from experience right here in Colorado that the presidential primary kills the caucus. And it's an indirect move to kill the caucus. These are the caucus killers behind the presidential primary. And Colorado should not even consider this. Now, if it's an initiative and they're out getting signatures, you know, don't sign the petition. Keep it off the ballot. Now, in 2 years, after the caucus, in 2 years with good state leadership in both parties, then if it's not working, fair enough. So to make it work better, I am going to propose that there be a third statewide organization in each precinct. And this third organization would be the servant of the Colorado Caucus for both political parties, both the Democrats and the Republicans, or any of the other parties that would like to use the caucus system, but none of the rest have enough people to make it work. So the servants of the Colorado Caucus would be in each neighborhood, and it would be loosely confederated. It would not be a tight organization. We won't take positions on issues or candidates. We just strictly are there to do two things. One is to facilitate education about the caucus, especially with newcomers. And the second thing is to welcome newcomers into the neighborhood. Now, anybody would be welcome to start one of these. If you go to one and you don't like it, start your own. We'll set up some mechanisms to try to help get the word out about what you're doing. And we are going to suggest, but not dictate, that you have two unaffiliated voters that lead the charge in each one of these. And I think we're going to call them the Caucus Club. Each Caucus Club would have an unaffiliated that had been a Democrat, and unaffiliated had been a Republican. And these are not rhinos or dinos. These are true Republicans, true Democrats, but they are temporarily unaffiliated to give a loud, clear signal that they're not running for office. They're not campaigning for anyone. They're just trying to facilitate the Colorado Caucus in their own particular neighborhood. And hopefully we have somebody in each county coordinating these people, not coordinating in the sense of telling them what to do, but coordinating in the sense of being the servant of these people as they get started to help them. And each one will be a little bit different. Some I would imagine, I had the great good fortune of being the president for a term in the Denver City Club. So these are the caucus clubs, the neighborhood caucus clubs. Here I'm in the university neighborhood, so it'd be the University Caucus Club. In your neighborhood, it'd be whatever your neighborhood's called, the Welshire Caucus Club, the whatever it is. And each one would be autonomous and independent. I've already put the name out in the public way. I think we've got the right to use it. I don't believe anybody else. I'm not even going to protect the name. If somebody wants to call themselves a caucus club, have at it. But the true caucus club, the one that I envision, the one that we would help publicize in various ways, would be something that is truly trying to just help people understand and fully participate in a Colorado caucus. Now, there's so much bad information out around the caucus because the Denver Post, Vince Carroll was at the Rocky Mountain News. They tried to kill the caucus. Now he's come to the Denver Post. He's got them trying to kill the caucus. I don't know what he wouldn't even meet with us. We stopped an effort to what was really to kill the caucus last spring and wanted to meet with Vince and the editorial board. They wouldn't see us. They've got their mind made up. And do you know why? I absolutely know why. Any fool could tell why the Denver Post wants to get rid of the caucus and just have presidential primary, because that's how to drive up their advertising revenues. It's such a pathetically poor paper compared to what it used to be. It's so thin, they have no reporters. It's mostly wire service news. There needs to be a new paper in Denver. And, the Denver Post is going to fold. They've got that big building down there. Maybe Scripps Howard will bring back in the Rocky Mountain News. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Because although they took a position against the caucus, due to Vince, I'm sure, now, I'd sort of like to have them back. We were a 2-newspaper town, and it made us a better city in all kinds of ways. On the other hand, the community papers are maybe doing better because they just have the one very poor competitor. And look at what they do. The ad rates, these huge ads to people at very sharp discounts. The poor little startup has to pay these ridiculous ad rates. It's just really working against the city of Denver. And I understand the ownership is got a medical problem. Maybe it's not him. I don't know. He might not even know what's going on. I doubt if he could go to his caucus. And, why is he going to be? Now, the caucus, this bad information, some people say, well, we need more people participating. Yeah, that's just not true. What is the caucus assembly system about? It's about trying to get the very best candidates for both parties. Now, we're about the last state that still has this good way of doing business. When nearly all the states had it, government was far different in this country than it is today. Going to the presidential primary rather than the caucus is what's caused this polarization of people. So what they do, it's the big lie. You turn that around and you say, well, we're polarized because of the caucus. That is not true. Anybody that's gone to a good, well-led caucus knows that's not true. Neighbors coming together to discuss in a thoughtful way the political situation, aren't like the clowns that shout at each other over talk radio, or maybe this clown sitting here in front of you now that gets all worked up. This is polarizing. And I'm personally going to try to recover from this. Maybe this is the last time I'll inflict this for anybody that's continuing to watch. Most people have probably turned it off. I used to say only my mother was watching, but she's passed on, so I'm not sure anybody watches this anymore. But the Colorado Caucus is a wonderful institution. If we do a good job in 2 years, I believe it could become our biggest export. There are going to be states across the country that want to adopt it. Now, not everybody is going to end up having a caucus system, but Kentucky, I think, is already changing to it. Washington State tried the presidential primary. It costs them $11 million a year. Now, you know, our legislative council says ours will only cost $4 to $5 million. Why would ours be any less than Washington State's? They have actual recent experience. Why did they spend $11 million and we pretend we can do it for $4 or $5 million? You know, I'll tell you why. It's because it's propaganda. It's people influencing that in the legislative council. It's a political operation, and they're saying what they want them to say, $4 to $5 million. Well, even if it was just $4 to $5 million, that's too much. You know, for what else could we do with that $4 to $5 million? You know, that's what we need to look at. Do we want to do that, or this meaningless drive-by voting, the drive-by voting of a presidential primary? Instead of coming together and reasoning together, we just watch ads, read ads in the Denver Post, they're full-page ads, and then go in and pull a lever in the voting booth. You know, it's sort of like the difference between a family dinner together and let's just all grab something out of the refrigerator whenever we want. What we have right now in Colorado is the Colorado Caucus. Now, Tuesday's meal was not quite up to par, but still, it was an exercise in us all sitting down together and eating dinner together. And what the presidential primary people want, what the caucus killers want, is to switch to this drive-by voting where we never talk with anyone. It's just another exercise in isolating our culture even further from each other. And there are people that want that, because if you get people together, they may start thinking. And if they start thinking, it may be more difficult for us to just do whatever we want. And there's more greed, corruption, because there's not adequate controls right now. If you have a strong caucus system, the neighborhood is better represented by your elected representatives, because if they don't do a good job, it's very easy to just get them out. Without the caucus system, it is almost impossible to get them out. You know, the caucus, so there's reasons for that. More about that between now and the next time the caucus meets. County conventions are coming up, and you know, you have usually at the county convention an opportunity. You call the county to participate in some way, even if you're not a delegate. You can put up a table. You can go and just shake hands with people if they're coming in, if nothing else. You can put up signs around where the county convention is going to be. And I've been on the floor of the county convention, unaffiliated with media credentials. And I'm not sure if I'm going to request those this year or not. I just have not made up my mind. But if you've even got a blog and you write about it, you know, most counties will let you in, but that's the county's decision. Now, one of the things that happens at a county convention is anything that happened Tuesday at the precinct caucus, virtually anything that happened that was not fair, you can appeal to the county caucus, but you need to contact your local office, the county office. And if you don't like the answer they give you, go to the state office of your party. If you don't like the answer they give you, go to the Colorado Secretary of State, because they are the referees in this process, which is good. And, you know, if you weren't treated fairly, you should be able to get on the agenda in front of the county convention and straighten it out. You know, what might happen is just they'll throw out that precinct's votes totally. And that may be a good thing. You may teach them a lesson, and in 2 years from now, they'll do it the right way. Or you may decide, as I did, I went to a precinct caucus. I got beat up. You know, the precinct person lied to me. Yes, we need someone, John. One Why don't you do it? It'd be me and you. I thought there was some sincerity in the voice, but I show up on time. The voting was over. And so I said, well, what kind of ballot control did you have? And there was no ballot control. I said, well, we need to revote. And they wouldn't revote because some people had left. And I said, well, I'm going to appeal the decision to the county convention. I'd like that entered into the minutes. Now, even if you didn't enter it into the minutes, a lot of these caucuses last time didn't even keep minutes. But if you were treated unfairly, the county convention is the place to seek justice. And I would encourage you to do it, especially this year. And I think what you could do is turn it into an opportunity to speak for getting the state chair, for sure, maybe the county chair in your particular county if they did a bad job, their immediate resignations. And volunteer yourself to do the job next time. Have somebody lined up to go in with you. If you just do a little bit of checking on people that live in your immediate area, you'll find experienced Republicans, experienced Democrats that are embarrassed about what's going on right now and enlist their help. Now we may, Save the Caucus came into being with some phenomenal people. I may have had a little bit to do with triggering the beginning of it, but it was certainly not me that did all the work. Ruth Pendergast was fantastic. Joanne Gray, Sharon Klein, the list goes on and on. Bill Armstrong, Frank Sullivan and Sylvia, his wife, they were just phenomenal. And together, we were able to stop Amendment 29, which would have killed the caucus back in, I believe it was 2002. And do we need that again? I'm not sure. We'll see. But that's potentially what will happen. If you would recruit somebody to take with you to the county convention that would speak on your behalf, that this wasn't right, that we do need to get new party leadership, maybe you doing that will save us from the need of trying to raise money for Save the Caucus. I think we can get a lot of money this time. I think a lot of people that have money, they like the caucus system because they know how good it is for our culture, for our society, for our political system. And I think we can do a far better job than we did last time, but we'll move pretty quickly, raise money, bring in these people from the past, we'll form a board of directors, and I will stay involved and work at the direction of the committee. Last time, I didn't do that, and that may have been helpful. Now, the Rocky Mountain News apparently thought it was helpful. They named me in an editorial as having done the job all by myself. No, they weren't trying to be helpful. They knew what that would do to everybody else in Save the Caucus when they wrote an editorial that way. Vince Carroll probably wrote the editorial himself and was laughing when he did it. And it did hurt the feelings of the other people that really are the ones that did all the work. And I will not do that again. I will stay with the board of directors and work at their direction, and they may want me to just sit back and listen, and that would be okay with me. But Save the Caucus would be ginned up as we're moving into the state convention. It's going to become clear if we need it in the county convention. Somebody down at the State House supposedly is putting forward legislation right now to institute the presidential primary. Why would they do that? Here we've got the county conventions coming up, the state conventions. Why not make it a topic for discussion there? Now, maybe that's what he's doing. And he's going to really recommend that that be carefully considered. Because I believe the county convention and the state convention will say, let's try it 2 more years. If they don't, I'll be very suspicious. There was a registration effort that may have been illegal. And I'm not going to take legal action unless this legislation comes up down at the State House. Then I will. And Save the Caucus will seek legal redress for what was very possibly an illegal action, which was what they've been doing at motor vehicle offices to recruit like-minded people. And, it's outrageous the way they did it. It, I believe, violates Colorado election law. And if that bill comes up in the legislature, I will go straight to the courthouse. I also believe there were real problems with this building a better Colorado. You know, those were secret meetings in the beginning. I kept pounding on them. Finally, they opened them up to a certain extent. But it's still a very mysterious group. Why are we doing business that way? If these people really want to get a feel for what people in Colorado think, let's bring it to the caucus, bring it to the county convention, bring it to the state conventions, and let's discuss it. And we need to get back to the idea that we are one Colorado. This idea that there's devils in one party and angels in the other has got to go. This negative campaigning is killing us. And we need to get back to running on our own personal merits. And, you know, the full flowering of the presidential primary and this negative campaigning that weak party leadership has allowed, well, you're seeing the results in the current presidential primary. Isn't it sickening? And we can get away from that by restoring the Colorado Caucus. Let's have a good caucus in 2 years, and then let's start taking it to other states. It can become our biggest export. Well, tonight at Socrates Cafe, I'm going to offer the topic of the philosophy of the grassroots. I believe the Colorado Caucus is the best way to nourish the grassroots in politics. But what is the grassroots? Where did that term come from? What is it really? Is it strictly a propaganda term, or is there some substantive thing to it? How? And we're going to talk it from a philosophical point of view. I'll offer the topic. The chances of my topic getting picked are virtually zero. So if you've got a topic you would rather talk about, bring it on. We'll be at tonight at Panera Bread, 16th and Market. That's the 16th Street Mall, right across the street from the Market Street station, the old one that they've shut down now. And it just sits there vacant and empty, like apparently the Denver Public School building does. Wow. And we have another Socrates Cafe, Saturday evening, 6:30 p.m., Anderson Academic Commons on the University of Denver campus. Both meetings are free and open to everybody. We just ask you to bring your ideas and share them, or you can just kind of watch. No RSVPs required, but if you Google Colorado Socrates Cafe Society, you'll see those two meetings and others. And we'll add your meeting on if you'd like to start one. Wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a Socrates Cafe, I don't know if at every precinct, but every district, and the Republicans and the Democrats joined forces and put on a Socrates Cafe. You had them scattered across Denver, scattered across the state. Come and take a look, see if you think that might make sense. This is a great way to practice your critical thinking skills, your ability to listen well, to communicate well. And, you know, I believe it's adult self-directed learning at its very best, and it's free, which is why you won't get much support from it for the philosophy departments of schools, because they like to think they have a monopoly on thinking, but they don't. So Socrates Cafe, tonight, Friday, at Panera Bread, 16th and Market. Tomorrow, Saturday, at University of Denver campus, and that's at 6:30. 6 tonight, 6:30 tomorrow. There's some others too, but if you Google Colorado Socrates Cafe Society, come right up. We'll try and have a Ben Franklin birthday next January 17th that you'll get invited to. If you do, let us know that you're with us on Meetup, but no RSVPs required. You can be as anonymous as you want. Maybe we'll see you tonight, and if not, I'll be on about noontime next week to give you an update on this Caucus Club idea. If you've got thoughts about it, if you'd like to help, if you want to start one especially, give me a call. If I don't see you tonight at Socrates Cafe or tomorrow night, give me a call. First part of next week, 303-861-1447. It's 303-861-1447. So this is John Wren, the Startup Show, sponsored by the Small Business Chamber of Commerce, Inc. We'd like to help you do more good work. We try to cooperate with local chambers across Colorado to help them be of more real help to startups and very small businesses. Thanks for watching. Give me a call if I can help you in any way. And remember, this life is very short. Let's go get started.